Welcome, class. Today we'll be talking about World War One. World War One, in my opinion, is a really important, historically important war, a conflict that kind of set the stage for what the 20th century would be. And I think a lot of people don't give it as much credit as it was. It was like more people are focused when you talk about World War, you think World War Two, right? But people don't think about World War One generally, and they should because it had one of the bloodiest battles in one of the bloodiest battles in history in it. And so when we think about that, we're going to talk about how the United States was involved in all of that because they do have an involvement, but it's different than you'd expect. So until we get to there, this episode will be, I don't know if I'm calling it episodes, they're lessons, but about the origins. What caused this ginormous conflict? Well, let's think of the four main long-term causes. Remember the main. Remember that saying? But now we're remembering the main causes. So there's four in the acronym. What is militarism? What is militarism? Remember building up the navies, building up the boats' military might. Alfred T. Mann, remember, he was an American militarist who really wanted to dominate and show countries how good our navy was. Remember the Great White Fleet stringing along the world, that global, basically, travel with the United States Navy? That's kind of what other countries are doing. In addition to that, there's this arms race. With new technology comes new weapons. More countries are showing off their cool guns. History of the World, I guess, one of my favorite videos, says it best when they said the world had a bunch of guns and they wanted to try it out. They have all this weapons and they want to try them. The second thing of this acronym is alliances. Remember, Washington had said in the farewell address, no alliances, no terms with other nations, because entangling alliances causes problems. Well, now we're going to talk about entangling alliances. This idea that countries kind of come together and, hey, I got your back if you got mine. That's going to be a huge problem. And these formed in the 1870s and 80s. The Triple Entente was an alliance between France, Great Britain, and Russia. Basically, if someone messes with you, we're going to help you. We're going to have your back. The Triple Alliance was the alliance of Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Italy. Same kind of thing. These are three really landmass-wise big places. Same with the Triple Entente. And so already we're going to have problems where, if let's say Germany upsets Russia, now England and France be like, hey, we're in an alliance, so if you go to war with them, we're going to be there too. And so you're going to have these conflicts. That's what's going to start escalating war. The third is imperialism. We've been talking in great extent about imperialism. All these countries in Europe are trying to get bits and pieces of the world, right? Kind of a piece of the pie of everything. So you're building empires, not just countries, empires. And you're competing for resources, you're competing for land, and that's going to cause problems. Germany is going to have to compete with all these giant countries to get land. So is Italy, and so that's going to cause some conflict, some tensions. The fourth is nationalism. What is the word nationalism? Nationalism is kind of the love for one's country, right? The one for one's origin, where they're from. So the thing, and this is a political science thought here, when we think of a nation or a nation state, we think of a place in borders, right? Well, ethnic groups, groups that identify, like there can be Serbian people in Austria-Hungary. There can be, Mexican people living in the United States. And if that culture is really strong, even though the borders say that's in here, that says it's Austria-Hungary, these Bosnians, there's so many Serbians in there who believe that, no, we're Serbian, we should be connected with the country. And so it says here, Serbs living in Bosnia, they want to be a part of Serbia, right? Because they have that ethnic connection. But it's owned by Austria-Hungary, and they're Austria-Hungarians. And this is a big problem that you're going to see, and I don't think we'll ever talk about it, but for honors, you can note this. This is a big problem you're going to see later on in history. I mean, Serbia, this is a big thing with Serbia, is that there are Serbs living throughout the Mediterranean area, and a lot of Serbians believe they need to be connected to Serbia, and so that causes a lot of conflict later on. But for now, a little off topic. Yes, so they want a national boundary to match the ethnic boundary. The Serbia is here, but really the ethnic Serbia is all of this. So why is this Austria-Hungary? And that's why people are not going to like that. So the powder keg of Europe you can consider is this area right down here, the Mediterranean Sea, Mediterranean area. So different countries are going to have different qualms or reasons why they want to get cut through and get into that area. So Russia is kind of allied, has an agreement with Serbia, and so because of this, they're able to kind of cut through into the Mediterranean Sea for trade. So Russia can cut through here and have trade through there, right? But Germany, allied with the Austria-Hungary, Bulgaria right here, and the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire is, at this time, it's known as the poor man of Europe. It's not doing very well. The Ottoman Empire had been around for centuries, but it's dying off. It's poor and sick, and so Germany, doing trade with the Ottoman Empire, can try to make things a little better, help it. If you can't tell, this is kind of my thing, is once we get into this history. But yeah, and so that trade, that alliance is going to help them. So as you can see, we're already having crossing conflict. And so that's going to create problems where Austria-Hungary, here, they're mad. Serbia is trying to control Bosnia. Like, what are you doing? That's part of our country. Stay out of Bosnia. And so you're going to have this conflict. I love how messy this looks, but I swear it's not as bad as you think. So right here, right? They have a conflict, and everyone else is, like, Germany's backing Austria-Hungary, Russia is backing Serbia. So are we going to have problems? Of course. Remember I talked about in another video, sparks, right? There's, like, with Spanish-American War. Once we had that spark, what was it? The Maine. The Maine was the spark of the Spanish-American War. Here, the spark is going to be the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand. He was next in line to be the basically the royal leader, per se, of the Austrian Empire, and he goes to Bosnia as a kind of way to show off, like, hey, I'm going to talk to the Bosnian people. It's kind of like a public relations kind of thing. Serbians aren't going to like this. They need something. They want to start war. They want to have Bosnia. And so there's this group called the Black Hand. And the Black Hand is a group of Serbian assassins trained to basically create this propaganda, to create problems. And they're going to try to assassinate Franz Ferdinand. So quickly, because we don't have too much time left, Franz Ferdinand rolls up in this city in Bosnia, right? His car, his wife, and another car behind them. There were 3 Black Hand nationalist assassins trained to assassinate him. 2 were waiting, I believe it was in a bush. They pop out as the car goes off, and they throw 2 grenades. They throw a grenade. The grenade explodes and hits the wrong car. So Franz Ferdinand's like, that's so weird, and continues anyway, doesn't question it. Goes to the governor's house of the city, and he's like, is this how you treat your guests, with bombs? And he's like, no. And then Franz Ferdinand, they get in their car, they're driving out. Meanwhile, remember, because there's 3 assassins, third assassin has given up. He's like, I don't see Franz Ferdinand anywhere. He's not coming by. He just heads over. He's like, I might as well get some coffee. Heads over. I swear this is true. Heads over to a cafe, sits down, and then notices that Franz Ferdinand is driving by, and goes over, pulls out his pistol, and assassinates him. This creates the powder keg of World War I. And you can look at this. I basically explain all of this, right? The assassination, once that goes off, everyone's going to have to react with each other. And so the alliances kick in. And I know this is going to get confusing, but this is the path that's going to happen. Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia. You've just killed the next heir. Serbia now allied with Russia. Russia's like, well, if you declare war on Serbia, we're going to have to fight you. Austria-Hungary is allied with Germany. They're like, hey, if you fight Serbia, or if you fight Austria-Hungary, we're going to have to fight you. So Germany declares war on France, invades Belgium because France is allied with Russia, who's also allied with Great Britain. So Great Britain declares war on Germany. And so it just all kind of falls. This is confusing, but it falls in on top of itself. All of these things that you think, like you didn't really think about, now they're called collapsing in. This is an entangling alliance. And so this will be the next time. So basically we learned today, I got very passionate, but we learned today about the origin story of World War I and kind of how entangling alliances cause problems. Tomorrow, and I don't think we'll look at this video, tomorrow we'll be looking at Allied powers, the actual war itself.